Oh, now we want to talk a little bit about how we use the teeth. Some people always look for the resonance of the teeth when they sing. They think the hard surfaces will do better than soft surfaces. And if I go ooh in the soft surface, there's no sound. My old teacher, Olga Reese, used to say, if flesh would resonate, they would hang a beef in the piano instead of a sounding board. So, in a sense, people are right. People who look for hard surfaces are closer to getting resonance than people who get the voice up in here, oh, and all that. The voice gets all meaty and fleshy, and it doesn't really ring or carry well, right? And the other thing is the nose. It's such a small position. I can sing that way. And they'll hear something, but they'll hear nothing like the way they hear me if I sing other ways. Now, let's start with this tooth business, the teeth business. When I was in Barcelona, all the singers there were trying to sing on the canine teeth right here. These big teeth right on the corner that turn into great fangs in the big cats and wolves and things. And they called it el tigre, the tiger. And the idea is to stop the breath right on these teeth. And they would do it like this. Oh, or non gli angeli in un lontano giorno io t'ho sorriso per quel sorriso dolce mia fanciulla ascolta. Anyway, Jaime Aragal won the big Cantagna competition singing that way and had a fabulous voice. So that's one of the ways. If you can identify these teeth, but the whole secret, now we've been through breath stops in some of these other videos. You must stop the breath. The breath must not flow through or past those teeth. The breath has to go, and it's got to stop right there. Te ne vai la mia piccina, oddio sogni d'amor. So those of you that know the breath stop tapes know that De Lucia sang everything on his lips. He taught John McCormick and George Teal to sing here. Well, this isn't very far removed from that, is it? If I stop them here. See? So if I sing all these different ways, they'll sound slightly different, but we also want to feel secure, be reliable. We have other considerations, really criteria for being a professional singer. You got to show up and you got to sing the notes. So if you're not secure with any of these, you have to throw them out and find one that you do feel secure with. And this is one of the ones that some people feel very, very secure with. You breathe way down behind you in your lower back like this. Any kind of breath that gets it down until you're warming up and you're going. Some of the singers are going. Jerome Hines and Franco Corelli used to do that. But where does the breath go when I suck air in against the resistance? The muscles way in my lower back pull harder and I can feel them and I know where to breathe. But when I do that, then I have to stop this breath and not let it run out and stop it, in this case, on these two fangs. Di bellezze diverse e bruna floria l'ardente amante mia. Anyway, that was a very useful way to sing. It's the way Miguel Fleta sang. Famous Spanish tenor, and everybody loved him, and he sang great. Now, the next teeth that we concern ourselves with are the very back teeth on the upper row up here, the back molars, right there. And I did the same thing. I stopped my breath, except this time I'm going to stop my breath on those big teeth back there at the back on the upper side. until I get a sing. When I went to see him and he asked him how do you sing and what can I do, and he talked about keeping the voice on those upper molars in the back. So you don't need to open these big mouth openings and they just pull everything down. You don't want that. You want to look like a baby. I get pictures of babies laughing and crying and all like this. Then there's a picture of Caruso. He looks like a baby. He's like this. So the idea is that if I'm singing in the back of my neck, one thing I can do is sing here. I want my resonance to come up and hit me up here, not on the nose. So it's not on my nose. It makes no difference if I close my nose because it's not in my nose. It's up here, right? They say tenors have hollow space. They don't have a brain. They have hollow space up there for a resonating chamber. Who needs brains? We don't need brains. We need resonance, right? We need high notes. So and we have to do it sometimes for all night long, but it's very difficult sometimes in terms of stamina, right? So here we go. We got another great tenor, a Polish tenor named Jan Kipura, who did the first Turandot, the role of Kalaf in Turandot in England. Really the premiere of Turandot in England. And the soprano was Ava Turner, Dame Ava Turner. She came to New York, did master classes. When I was in the Metropolitan Opera School for 5 years, she gave master classes, and she's the one that told us about Jan Kipura singing on the lower molars all the time, like this. And he'd sing, like that. Up, down, forward, In other words, the singers that I mentioned who used these all had fabulous careers that lasted a long, long time. Kipura finally married the operetta queen. Her name was Monaco Eggert, and she was the operetta queen, and they did nothing but concerts all over the place. He was like the handsomest man in the world, handsomest singer in the world. Always laughed. So Caruso said in his book, never show your teeth when you sing. And there was Kipura going like this. All the time, just showing every tooth he had. But the place, apparently, that he said that he stopped his breath, was right here. Now, if I get two on each side and I put them up like that, I've got a rectangle. And Caruso told Rosa Poncell to keep a rectangle in the back of her neck at all times. So Caruso was into this rectangle business, no doubt about it. So if I can stop my breath on all four of these, two tops and two bottoms, then I get this. And the voice is sitting, of course, the whole time above the nose. Never in my nose. So here we got this, la, this, la, this, la, and now these all together. La. Some people sing, I won't say who, but a great friend of mine, and sang big monster heroic parts, but he sang on one side. And so he'd sing like this, la, well, it looks funny, but I can sing anything that way. And have a voice big enough to sing in any theater or any orchestra, by the way. Small detail. So if some of us are left-handed, some of us are right-handed, you have a favorite side. I go, it looks kind of funny. I look at the mirror. I look in the screen here, and I think, oh my God, that looks so funny. But it looked funny when they did it too. But some of them just sounded great. And that sound carries like a rocket and makes everybody happy. Everybody loves the sound and blah, 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 blah. But you look funny. Especially if you're on TV or something, the camera comes up close to you, you know, they're going. Anyway, singers will do anything, especially tenors, but singers will do anything, you know. I remember Renata Timali, when she sang really well, she sang very bright and very light and very lyric. And the main vocalist that she used for that kind of singing was what she called the happy surprise. What are you doing here? So she go, so happy surprise puts me in that rectangle back there. If you could draw a line between these and these, and look, it looks like that. It looks like a rectangle. But you don't want to try to form your throat or use your muscles. You just open up and try to stop air from flowing out past these stop signs. It's right there. La, 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 la. Now, the last one of these that I know people really, really did use, now, there are a lot of them apparently people did use, but I didn't hear them and talk to them, so I don't know for sure. So I don't quote them. But I studied with Mario Del Monaco for about 6 months. And he had two approaches. One was to sing everything down here in the sternal notch, it's called, right there. So you go, la. Of course, he sang Otello, all the big dramatic parts. He's the one that took Petitilet's place at La Scala after Petitilet got a little bit older. And Del Monaco had this great voice, big whopping, probably the biggest tenor voice I've heard. So maybe Helge Rosvang, I think, had a bigger voice. Maybe Melchior, if you want to count him, but it was baritone, more baritone sound. But Del Monaco had a voice, huge voice. But anyway, he sang right here in the sternal notch. When he sang music that was a little bit lighter than Otello and some of the dramatic music, guess what he did? He added breath stops in the mastoid bones right there behind your ear. There's one of those bones behind on each ear, on each side, and I stop my breath there. Now, what does that sound like if I do that? So I go, how you damn fine. So it puts a nice, bright, metallic sound that'll just go sailing over the orchestra. And everybody said, you're a young Helden tenor. And I sang for Melchior, and he said, that is ridiculous. What did they tell you? They don't know. Forget it. So he didn't fit. When I told him, he told me I was singing for his big competition, $50,000 first prize. I sang for him. I sang Lohengrin. He said, what are you doing? I said, oh, I'm singing. I'm trying to win that prize. He said, but you are not Helden tenor. Who told you that? Forget that nonsense. You're a lyric tenor. You are what in Italy they call lirico forte, a big lyric tenor, but your voice is basically lyric, not heroic. So I was saying what they called a lot of Jugendlich, it's called a Jugendlich Held, which means a youthful hero. In other words, not a hero, but some kid running around yelling his guts out. But I would sing on back there, and everybody come up, oh my God, you're a real dramatic tenor, you're a real Helden tenor. No. Because it does make the voice bigger. If you know, if you ever think about it, how these things work. Famous voice teacher named Herbert Shehzadi said, the real mouth of a singer is the pharynx. So this thing right here, according to his ideas, was sitting in the back of the neck like that. And certainly I've known people that sang that way. They sang in Del Monaco was one of them. So he would sing down here, and then he would add this. Get the idea? So the idea was not only big and somewhat dark and very incredibly metallic, but it was big as a barn out in the theater. And he used to do back bends sometimes on a high note. He and a soprano named Teresa Stratas, I watched her do a back bend on a high C in Tabarro at the Metropolitan Opera. She could sing the heck out of that note, right? But he had a voice like a house. It was a huge voice. And he'd bend over and he'd get his whole body into those sounds and he could hold them up. But they started here. The old Garcia school was to sing straight down in the trachea and relax the trachea by breathing. So I go, So I breathe behind me. My whole trachea, everything lets go. My larynx goes down because it's soft and nothing resisting. And it goes, and it sort of gets sucked down with the inhalation, and it goes down here. So if I just sing like that, then that's the way I imitated Lars Melchior, like that. I go, I swear, for he's me the Father, his fairness and his Lord. So everything was down here and very, very relaxed. I wouldn't say relaxed, the right word, but soft, not flexed, no muscles. The muscles were all in the breathing, sucking in the air, what Caruso called the massive power of the respiratory system, of the respiration. Basic power of the respiration. And Manuel Garcia called it the superabundance of the breath. The idea is these guys have, not only do they have tremendous amount of breath in their capacity, and the bigger the drum, the bigger the sound, but they also got that breath by sucking in like that powerfully for a lifetime. Rosweiger did 3 hours of yoga 7 days a week for 55 years. By the time I heard him, he was 69, heard him live, and he nearly blew the building apart. It was gigantic, even bigger than Delmonico's. And Lars Melchior told me that Rosweiger had the greatest voice he ever heard. It was just indescribable. He said when you sing a high note, it was like lightning. So everything was shaking. Anyway, the idea is that I'm going to sing down here. If I sing like that, I could be a phony imitation Lars Melchior. But Delmonico didn't do that. Delmonico would get this thing down here and go, oh, and then he would start stopping his breath back here on his mastoid bone. And he did that. He died at age 67 of kidney disease. And he gave a concert 2 weeks before he died, and the voice was fantastic. So he never had any vocal problems singing that way. And it really is freeing to sing that way rather than strain. You're not straining anything. But you do have to breathe, and develop your breathing. You must breathe in this, what Caruso called the massive power of the respiration. You have to learn how to really breathe. So like Gili, Benny Mangini was a saxophone player, and Fritz Wunderlich was a French horn player. Caruso was a deep diver. He was a free diver, went down deep without tanks. Franco Corelli was an ocean swimmer. Joan Sutherland was an ocean swimmer. Nellie Melba was an ocean swimmer. So these people all have some kind of exaggerated thing that they did that trained their breathing way beyond what a normal person, a usual person would need. You don't need that much air just to live and survive. It's only singers that need that much air, especially ones that like to get up and bellow and make big sounds and sing big operas. And some of these operas, they incredibly long. They're 5.5 hours, 5 hours and 15 minutes long, and you're doing this for hours, literally. So whatever you do, you got to be not only very strong, but very have a lot of stamina, a lot of endurance, because you don't want to get tired. So which one tires me? If I sing, I remember I'm going to do the throat forms that some people use, but these are more than throat forms. These are really stops in the throat, and you use different reactions in the throat to make different kinds of sounds. You can see that if I sing the lips like Fernando de Lucia and John McCormick and George Teal, I sing when Irish eyes are smiling, yes, it's like morning spring, and I'm right there on my lips. And McCormick learned that from de Lucia, who was considered the greatest of the bel canto tenors. But Matteo Battistini, who was an Italian baritone that was a superstar at the Tsar's private opera house in St. Petersburg, they asked him, how do you sing? He said, I press my chest. Well, what is it to press it with? Breath. And right before you cough, you put breath pressure against your chest, and then you cough. So if I put breath pressure against my chest like a pre-cough, I can go, wait, so you start adding all these things together. And right now, today, on this video, I wanted to sort of touch on what the teeth have to do or can do, or do they do anything, or is it just a form I sing through? If I sing through a megaphone, it's going to sound better. Or maybe it's just the form of the megaphone that makes it sound better. I don't really have to I've got a plastic one, right? Those great big old things they use at the ball games, I don't know what they're made of, but boy, they amplify. So if I go, it already sounds very, very, what's the word, ringy. The Italians use the word chiaroscuro, which means clear dark. So if you have a tone, the ideal tone is 50-50, bright and metallic, and mellow, even dark. So if I go, la, is that dominated by one or the other? What if I go, la, and finally, after singing through the rectangle, I get the mastoid bones, and I started here, and then I went here, and then I went there, and now I go back and it gets even a little bit wider. So that's something to think about. If you really are convinced, or somebody's got you convinced, that you should be singing on heart surfaces and on teeth and not in the meat, right? They may be right. You don't want to get too fleshy. Remember what my teacher said about the beef hanging in the piano. It doesn't ring, right? So if I get my voice like this, a lot of people try to sing French, and if you sing it like it's spoken, it's very close. They say, je veux que je sois du fond de ma bouche. La fleur, quand tu m'avais jeté dans ma prison, m'était restée. It's all in here. So am I really going to sing, la fleur que tu m'avais jetée dans ma prison, m'était restée. Then I'm starting like I'm imitating a Melchior or somebody. See, so then you cheat when you sing French, and you do this. And you either cry, or you laugh. But you try to keep De Lucia, the greatest of the bel canto tenors, right, can criticize his whole career because all he did was smile all the time. Even when he was murdering Carmen, he smiled. Right? So the idea is to try to not let the voice get too dark, but also don't let it get blatty and white and that's even uglier maybe. Some of you rather sing dark. So the mix of those. If I can get both things working, if I get this working and let's say this working, then I get what's called chiaroscuro, clear dark. And you can hear Monaco did it, but sort of a complicated way, and I studied with him about 6 months. But you start here, and then gradually you start adding this. So you get sort of schizophrenic up there because you're having to hold two things at the same time. Some of us don't do that very well. Anyway, you try your best to, remember our rule. You can try all kinds of different things, but if you have a pain, stop. Something's wrong. We're not supposed to have pain. I'm at 86 years old now. I sing all day, every day, and I don't have any pain. I'm having my pain in my back, a pain in my knee, a pain in my foot, a pain in my head, but never in my throat. See? So remember that. As Richard Tucker used to say to me about 1,000 times, see, the voice does nothing. The breath does everything. He said, by the time you hear the voice, it's too late. It's already happened. So you've got to learn to think. You must give a command and tell your body what to do. And believe me, this sound will be the result. But by that time, it's already happened. You can't correct. So you always get ahead of it and give these commands and tell it what you want it to do. So I'm taking a breath way down. If I can get it in my tailbone, I get all the way down and go. Right? And then, of course, that relaxes my throat and everything goes like this, very vertical and and then I add one of these. Puts plenty of metal in the voice. I've sung in a lot of theaters, a lot of big houses, big orchestras, and they couldn't cover me. It just means I learned to yell really well. I don't know. But anyway, you try this. It doesn't hurt the voice at all because the breath does everything and the voice does nothing. All I'm doing is making shape. You can practice those shapes without singing. Okay? All right, then the next time I'll do the throat, not the teeth so much. The psychological orientation. It doesn't have to be the teeth so much. It can be the throat. But both schools, we'll call them schools because some people really practice this one and other people really practice that one. Very often they thought the other one was wrong. So, but we'll see what happens if we deliberately do not use the teeth. And just shape the throat constantly the same way. And you must breathe so the shape of the throat never gets tense. You don't flex the muscle when you shape the throat. You breathe. Like that. And all these different ways of breathing will shape your throat. Okay? Whereas on the teeth thing, you're already set there. I remember Nikolai Gett always looked a little funny sometimes when he sang. But even Joan Sutherland did that sometimes on her extreme high notes, like high D, high E flat, and she like this. And some of the singers would pull the jaw back to get to those upper molars. See, but you know what? They all work, and I don't mention anything that didn't work for some great singer somewhere, because everything I tell people now, I learned from the great singers who were in the Metropolitan Opera from 1958 to 1963 before I went to Europe. And then when I went to Europe, there were a lot of great singers walking around Europe too. And you can't believe where some of them said they sang. Like Birgit Nilsson had the biggest voice in the world, but she sang in her perineum. And the perineum goes straight down, and the opposite and equal reaction is that the resonance goes straight up. See? So she didn't worry about her teeth, believe me. All right. Thanks, guys, very much. Hope it helps. Bye.